Hello everybody and welcome to another Koo Lab. My name is Koo. This is our laboratory for learning. So today we're going to be looking at an article about an upcoming movie about the Beatles. We'll take a look at some vocabulary, some grammar, some new phrases, and hopefully by the end of the video you have enough confidence to use those new words in new conversations or, tackle an article by yourself. And as always, at the end of the video, I will be doing a shadowing exercise where I will read the entire selections at native pace so you can practice some of your listening and speaking skills. We have a link to the full article in the description below, so check that out if you want. Okay, let's dive in for another Koo Lab. Let's take a look at that article title. It reads, Fab Four stars revealed for major Beatles film. The Beatles are a very famous British musical group. So let's pay attention to that first phrase, Fab Four. Fab Four is a set name for the Beatles themselves. This was their nickname. They were known worldwide. Anyone who said the phrase Fab Four knew you were talking about the Beatles. So this was their special nickname. And you'll see it throughout this article. You will see it in many articles about the Beatles. So it's important to know the phrase Fab Four. So let's start with our first selection. Selection 1. Paul Mescal and Barry Keoghan have been confirmed as part of the all-star lineup who will play members of the Beatles in 4 major new films about the band. Normal People and Gladiator II actor Mescal will portray Sir Paul McCartney, while Saltburn star Keoghan will step into Ringo Starr's shoes. Okay, so let's take a look at some of that vocabulary. Our first word is the word confirm. So confirm is a verb that means officially announced or verified as true. Means you checked to see if it was true. In this sentence from the article, we see Paul Mescal and Barry Keoghan have been confirmed as part of the all-star lineup. That means the person who wrote the article, they double-checked to see if they were part of the movie. And yes, they were confirmed. Let's look at another sentence. Confirm. The scientist confirmed the results of the experiment after multiple tests. So scientists did some experiments. They checked those experiments to make sure they were true. And yes, they confirmed the results. Okay, our second vocabulary word, portray. Portray means to represent or act as a character in a film or other performance, like a play or a TV show. In our article, we see Mescal will portray Sir Paul McCartney. So portray is an acting term that means they will play that part. They will try to become them in the movie. So instead of the word play, we'll sometimes use portray. It's a little more advanced English word. Another sentence might be, the actor skillfully portrayed the famous scientist in the drama. So this actor played a scientist in a drama or a play. Another vocabulary word is major. Major in this sentence is an adjective that means significant, large, or important. From the article, we see the phrase 4 major new films about the brand. Major is the opposite of minor. Major means big, important. Minor means small, not so important. So major new films. These are big, important films, especially to the studio. Another sentence might be, the company announced a major breakthrough in artificial intelligence research. So major is another one of those words we use instead of big or important. It's a little bit more colorful and descriptive. Let's look at some grammar and expressions now from that selection. All right, let's look at one of our first grammatical phrases or expressions. This one is all-star lineup. All-star lineup is a set phrase when we talk about major individuals who are very important or very good at what they do, all working together. In sports, we have an all-star team. It's the best players from all of the teams. So in this case, all-star means the best of what they do. As we can see in our sentence from the selection, they were confirmed as part of the all-star lineup. That means these are some of the best actors that are acting today. Another sentence using all-star lineup set phrase might be, the charity event featured an all-star lineup of musicians from around the world. So, some of the best musicians from everywhere in the world. All-star lineup. All right, our next grammatical phrase is another set phrase. We'll step into someone's shoes. So, stepping into someone's shoes. It's a very common phrase, native speakers might say. It means to take over someone else's job or role or responsibility. To step into someone's shoes. From the article, we see the phrase, Keoghan will step into Ringo Starr's shoes. In this particular sentence, it means that he will portray a real-life person, often well-known figure, like Ringo Starr. He will step into the shoes. Now, another sentence using will step into someone's shoes might be, after the head coach left, his assistant stepped into his shoes and led the team to victory. So stepped into his shoes, took on his responsibilities, and led the team to victory. All right, good work with selection 1. Let's now move on to selection 2. Selection 2 reads, the acting supergroup will also feature Harrison Dickinson, who was most recently seen opposite Nicole Kidman in Baby Girl as John Lennon. Joseph Quinn will go from Marvel's Fantastic Four to the Fab Four, playing George Harrison in the big screen quadrilogy, which will be directed by Sir Sam Mendes. All right, a lot of fun vocabulary words in that one. Let's take a look at some of them. All right, from our article, we see the acting supergroup will also feature Harrison Dickinson. So a couple of vocabulary words in this one small selection. The first vocabulary word is supergroup. Now, supergroup is a noun that describes a team or group made up of very talented individuals. Remember from selection 1, we had all-star lineup, right? Supergroup is very similar. In this article, they want to keep reminding us that these actors are amazing. They're incredible. So they're using different words that means something similar. In this case, supergroup. Another sentence using supergroup might be, the rock supergroup released their first album last year. Again, a group of very talented rock musicians. All right, the second vocabulary word is feature. So in this sentence, feature is used as a verb. And this verb means to include, highlight, or present something as important. So you want to showcase it. You want to show someone something very important. You feature it. Another example sentence using the word feature might be, the magazine will feature a special interview with the famous actor. So the magazine will showcase this special interview. They will feature it. So let's read the sentence again. The acting supergroup will also feature Harrison Dickinson. So a group of talented people, we want to feature a specific person. Okay, let's look at our next selection from our article. In the big screen quadrilogy, which will be directed by. All right, another couple of fun vocabulary words, some fun big ones. And the first one is big screen. Big screen is what we call an idiomatic nickname. It's a special nickname that we use for movies or cinema. We call movies, when you go to a movie theater, the big screen, because it's a big giant screen that everyone looks at. And the small screen is your TV. It's smaller, but a movie theater has a big screen. So you might see this in many articles about movies, referring to them as on the big screen. Let's look at another sentence we might use. After years of stage acting, she finally got her big screen break in a Hollywood film. So she was acting on stage in a play, but now she will be acting in the movies. All right, our next vocabulary word, quadrilogy. Now, quadrilogy is a big word. You don't hear it very often. It really means a series of 4 related films. The word quad means 4. So what we usually see is trilogy with TRI, which means 3. So usually we see 3 in a row, but this will be a quadrilogy. This is the word you would use if there's 4 films in a row. Let's look at another sentence using quadrilogy. The horror quadrilogy ended with a shocking twist in the final film. So this describes a series of 4 horror films. So our sentence again, in the big screen quadrilogy, which will be directed by. So these are 4 related movies on the big screen. All right, good work with the vocabulary. Some fun words there. Let's take a look at some grammar and expressions here. Let's look at a sentence from our article. Harrison Dickinson, who was most recently seen opposite Nicole Kidman in Baby Girl as John Lennon. So what's going on here? Let's take a look. So what we have here is we call a relative clause. It's where we have a noun, a comma, some extra information that helps us understand that noun, and then we have a predicate. We finish the sentence. So it provides some extra information about that noun. Another example to show relative clause might be, my best friend, who lives in London, is visiting me next month. So the phrase, who lives in London, gives us extra information about my friend, the noun. Okay, good. These are relative clauses. We use them all the time to give the reader or the person we're talking to some extra information. Another sort of phrase we use is when we say opposite someone. Now, opposite can be used as lots of parts of speech. In this particular case, it's being used as a prepositional phrase. It means to act alongside another actor in a role. So in this case, it's telling us a little bit about the someone that comes after. Another sentence using opposite to showcase could be, Emma Watson starred opposite Daniel Radcliffe in the Harry Potter films. So opposite works kind of like the word with, but opposite means they are next to or working with that person. So in Harry Potter, we had both Emma Watson and Daniel Radcliffe. All right, let's look at that sentence one more time from our selection. Harrison Dickinson, who was most recently seen opposite Nicole Kidman in Baby Girl as John Lennon. So that relative clause is quite large. It also uses our phrase, prepositional phrase, opposite. All right, let's move on now to selection 3. Selection 3. Although several previous movies like Backbeat, Nowhere Boy, and I Want to Hold Your Hand have depicted the Beatles, this is the first time that all 4 band members and their estates have granted full life story and music rights for a scripted film. All right, lots of fun red and blue phrases in there. Let's take a look and break that down. Let's first look at some of the vocabulary. From our selection, the phrase, although several previous movies like Backbeat, Nowhere Boy, and I Want to Hold Your Hand have depicted the Beatles. So we want to look at depicted, which is the past tense of the verb depict. Right? Depict means to show in a particular way in a work of art, such as a movie, book, or painting. So depict means you're showcasing it in a certain way. Let's look at our second example sentence to help us out even more. Our sentence reads, "The painting depicted a peaceful autumn scene with many colorful trees." So the scene could be lots of ways, but it was depicted as peaceful. It showcased these qualities about this scene. Peaceful, colorful trees. Depict. Also from our article, this phrase, "All 4 band members and their estates have granted full life story and music rights." So let's look at granted. Granted is again a verb from to grant. It means allowed or gave permission for something to happen. You grant someone permission. Another sentence using the word granted might be, "The school principal granted permission for the students to leave." It's sort of a very nice way to say give. Like give permission, but granted is a little more like someone high in authority can grant you something. A king can grant you permission. To grant. Now moving on to some of our grammar and expressions. Sentence from the article. "Their estates have granted full life story and music rights for a scripted film." Let's take a look at this word scripted here because it's used in an interesting way in this sentence. The word to script is a verb. It means to write what the actors say before something is performed. In the movies or in a play, we write down the words. That's called a script. Other types of shows, like reality television shows, they don't have a script. We turn on the camera and people say what they want to say, or they just think of what they want to say right when they want to say it. But in a movie or a TV show, many of them are scripted. The words are written down beforehand. Now, in this sentence, though, when we have a verb in the past tense or the ed form, and we have a noun, that changes that verb into a past participle. And it's actually used as an adjective in the sentence. So we have the phrase scripted film. So scripted is an adjective describing film. So as we can see, a scripted film is referring to something that has been written or planned in advance. If we look back at our sentence, their estates have granted full life story and music rights for a scripted film. Our next sentence from this article. Although several previous movies like Backbeat, Nowhere Boy, and I Want to Hold Your Hand have depicted the Beatles. Let's look at that phrase, have depicted. So this is a verb in the present perfect tense. So this describes actions that were completed at some time before now, but have relevance in the present. Happened in the past, we don't know when, but are still relevant now. Let's look at another sentence using depicted. Many artists have depicted animals in their painting. They did it at some time in the past, we don't know when, but those paintings are still relevant now. Okay, good work with all 3 selections. Now let's jump into some shadowing. Now remember, with shadowing, you follow along at native pace, repeating the words as I say them. You can stop and rewind the video as many times as you need to keep up with that pace. Practice that pace, practice the pronunciation, practice those phrases so that you feel more comfortable. Okay, let's begin shadowing. Paul Mescal and Barry Keoghan have been confirmed as part of the all-star lineup, who will play members of the Beatles in 4 major new films about the band. Normal People and Gladiator II actor Mescal will portray Sir Paul McCartney, while Saltburn star Keoghan will step into Ringo Starr's shoes. The acting supergroup will also feature Harris Dickinson, who was most recently seen opposite Nicole Kidman in Baby Girl as John Lennon. Joseph Quinn will go from Marvel's Fantastic Four to the Fab Four, playing George Harrison in the big screen quadrilogy, which will be directed by Sir Sam Mendes. Although several previous movies like Backbeat, Nowhere Boy, and I Want to Hold Your Hand have depicted the Beatles, this is the first time that all 4 band members and their estates have granted full life story and music rights for a scripted film. Alright, excellent work with all the vocabulary, some new grammar, and some shadowing. I hope you had a good time exploring this article about the Beatles, an upcoming film. Should be exciting. And now you know a few more words and phrases when you read more articles about it. Thanks again for all of your help. Be sure, as part of our Collab, to take a new vocabulary word and make a sentence in the comments below. And remember, a link to the full article is in the description below. Thanks again, and I hope to see you in the next Collab.